Hey there, Julie Stone from SopranoJam.com with an exercise that I think is really going to help you if you are a frustrated singer. But if you're totally brand new to singing, I think that this can help work for you too. It's just going to take a little bit of awareness of what you're feeling rather than only listening. That's probably I got to make a little side note here. That's probably my biggest encouragement for new singers is stop listening to what you're hearing when you sing and concentrate more on what you're feeling when you sing, especially before you start singing, right? Because that's where you're going to be able to make the biggest amounts of change. So here is just a simple little exercise that's going to really free your voice. Tension in singing is no good. And it's probably the number one thing that people need to lose in order to really make improvements in their singing voice. So what I want you to know is that you have this big old range, and within that range there are different what we call registers. So they're almost like these gears in the voice, and so they have to be used differently. And we can't expect them all to sound or feel the same. And that's one of the biggest mindset issues that singers, or even people who don't sing but want to sing, come into singing with, is they feel like, well, I love the way that sounds in my voice, and so they try to make all of their voice sound and feel exactly like that. Well, that's just not realistic, right? If you think about instruments, a flute and a tuba do not sound anything alike, right? Not only are their ranges different, but their actual tone quality and timbre is different too. And so even within one person, the tone quality and timbre of the sound within the range is going to come across as different for a whole host of reasons, but mostly because we need to allow the gears to shift in our voices. So here is a quick little exercise for you. We're going to use a really simple vocal glide. It's kind of my go-to experimental exercise for singing. So if you check out more videos, you'll probably see me use a glide a lot because it moves through a lot of the different pitches in our ranges very, very smoothly and requires the vocal cords to stretch in a really systematic manner. So what I want you to do is, think about your throat. Here, this is the sound maker, all right? This is not where the power comes from. This is not where the beauty comes from. That part of your instrument comes from this whole area here. So what we're gonna do is shift our mindset from the throat to using like torso to, I guess you can't really see that from my camera view, but I'm down around my lower abdominals, so near my waist and all the way up to my head. That's your voice, your instrument that you use to get your voice out, all of that area. So when you decide that you can accept that idea, I suppose, then what it does is it kind of makes you realize that your voice is going to travel to different places. So what we're going to do is first I'm just going to kind of glide up, and as I glide, the higher I go, the more I'm going to think of my voice as separating from my throat. All right, so I'm going to try this. Right? So you can maybe hear that a little bit, and if you imagine, as I'm making that sound, if you imagine that my voice, it's not staying in my throat. If I keep my voice in my throat, I'm gonna get this. And you hear the strain, right? And eventually I hit a ceiling way earlier than I do if I let the voice separate from the throat, okay? Now this is not actually happening, but this is a good way for us to kind of practically understand what needs to happen in our voices in order to access a different part of our range. So we're gonna let the sound move up into the head, and then as you come back down, you can think about it sinking kind of back into the throat area, okay? So it might help you as well to physically make that motion. I find that the more physical and tangible we can make singing, the better. All right, so do that with me. Ah. Great. Now you do it by yourself, and I'll just kind of give you the visual cue. Great. And now just remember, you can practice that over and over and it'll become more familiar and you'll get better and better and better at it. But just you want to keep that throat really just kind of soft feeling. I often tell my students, make your throat feel really fat and not, you don't want it to get skinny or tight as the sound is moving, but let the sound move away from the throat. Don't keep it trapped and locked in there. The same thing can happen on the way down as well. You're going to think about the sound kind of sinking into the chest. So for some of you who are struggling to get down to some lower notes, some of those richer notes, think of the sound again separating and moving from the throat down into the chest, like this. Ah. All right, now try it with me and use that hand motion. Ah. Good. And now you by yourself. Great. I hope you made that change within a few minutes. I think, it's pretty simple. You don't have to know a lot about voice. You just have to be willing to kind of experiment and take the pressure off of yourself when you're trying to learn how to sing. Now, if you're interested in learning more, please check out sopranojam.com. I've also created a free email course. It's three different emails that gives you a little bit more lengthy teaching on how to expand your range by an octave, just unlocking that singing voice. And I hope you'll check it out again at sopranojam.com. Get in touch with me if you have any questions. I would love to connect with you and just help you through this singing journey. Bye.